Like I maybe said before, the amazing Cyberpunk Circus was one of my favorite videos to work on in the recent history of this channel. And I maybe left it a little open-ended in case I wanted to do a part 2. And if you clicked on this video, well then you already know that's why we're here. See what happens in this story. Because let's be honest, you didn't think Caine was going to get away that easily, did you? So, let's jump in and see how this epic sci-fi story concludes. I mean, I already know how it ends, I wrote it, but now you get to see it. Let's create some chaos! Gummy's skin was cold against Jester's head. The tears rolled down her face as she sat hunched over the body of her new friend. Gummy had recently joined Jester and the group of resistance fighters that opposed the rule that Caine and its company CNA had over Circuit City. The group had recently been tasked with delivering supplies across the city on the behalf of Vera, who sold them out to Caine in return for a large sum of money. Caine then hijacked the minds of a couple of civilians via the TADC visors, which almost everyone in the city owned. Gummy and 2 other Circuit City citizens, under Caine's control, attacked the group, but Jaxrabbit, one of Jester's fellow resistance fighters, was able to break Caine's hold over Gummy by destroying the TADC visors with a laser cannon, although the rest of the group knew that Jaxrabbit was actually going for the kill. Afterwards, Gummy saved Jester from falling off a truck when Jaxrabbit had ignored her. Now the 2 of them were on the floor, Gummy having been shot during the group's confrontation with Caine. Jester's head shot up as a voice called to her. She looked around Caine's now empty office and saw Ragdoll had returned. Caine got away. But that's okay, we'll find a way to track him down. Although there was optimism in her voice, Jester could tell that, in reality, Ragdoll was rejected that their target had gotten away. Ragdoll held out her hand and offered to help Jester up. Jester turned away from Ragdoll as she continued cradling Gummy in her arms. I know I haven't known all of you for that long, but I knew Gummy for even less. In fact, I barely knew him at all when he saved me from flying off the truck. I told him to come with us because he didn't know where else to go. And now he's gone. She was trying to hold back another wave of tears, with little success. Ragdoll knelt beside her and put an arm around her. Her voice was comforting as she spoke to Jester. I didn't know him for long either. None of us did. But I do know how he made you feel. You've been antsy around us ever since I found you and brought you to our base, which is understandable. What we're doing here isn't exactly a walk in the park. But for the short time he was a part of this group, you were more relaxed and even smiling, despite our circumstances. I'm really sorry that he's gone. We'll avenge him, together, and make Caine pay for this. You have my word. Ragdoll stood back up, then offered her hand to Jester once again. Jester hesitated and took another look at Gummy's body. She silently promised that she would come back for him, after they gave Caine the same treatment that he afforded Gummy. She took Ragdoll's hand, stood up, and the 2 of them walked out of the office and headed down to the destroyed lobby, where the rest of the team was waiting for them. Back in the lobby, Ribbons was looking around the truck, seeing if it was still drivable. King and Breakdown were discussing something, and Jaxrabbit was leaning against the wall by the elevators. When he heard the elevator doors dinged, Jaxrabbit pushed himself off the wall and then turned to face Ragdoll and Jester. And look who decided to join us. I wanted to thank you, by the way, for helping us chase down Not now, Jax! We'll catch him. Don't worry. Speaking of which, do we know where he went? Unfortunately not. And Ribbons destroyed the truck ramming it into the building, so that's out of commission too. But you're the one who told her to— On the other hand, I think it's about time we all paid a visit to the princess of a certain castle. Before the group made their way towards the Candy Castle bar, they took a small detour. They knew they wouldn't be able to just walk through the front door like they did last time. They needed a plan. Jaxrabbit led the group towards a sketchy part of Circuit City and through a maze of alleyways, until they came upon a small stand that appeared to be unattended. The stand was decorated with all sorts of handmade jewelry and trinkets with a curtain in the back. Jester assumed it was for storage. Ragdoll was about to tell the group to turn around, insistent that an empty trinket shop was a waste of time, when Jack's rabbit walked up to the stand and rang the bell in a rhythmic pattern. Almost immediately, the back curtains opened and a pair of glowing eyes appeared from the darkness. "Fudge! How you doing?" The owner of the eyes stepped forward. Fudge was a big burly man with gold teeth, 2 cybernetic eyes, and a number of piercings all over his face. "Oh, Michael! It's been a while." "Shut it! We don't use that name around here. You trying to get caught?" Sorry. Anyway, how you been?" "Oh, you know. Still trying to overthrow corporations, got betrayed by a possible informant, gained a new member of our crew, drove through a building, lost a new member, and now taking a small detour for revenge. You know, the usual. Think you can hook us up with anything that's good for storming a castle?" I think I might have just the thing you're looking for. Hang on a minute." Fudge disappeared into the back of his little shop again, as Jax turned to face his team, a massive grin spreading across his face. After Fudge returned and handed Jack's rabbit a sack of mysterious items, Ragdoll, Jester, and the rest of the group made a long, tentative journey to the Candy Castle bar. To none of their surprises, a small army of guards were standing out front waiting for them. Unlike last time, though, they weren't there to escort the group inside. Jack's rabbit was undeterred. He reached behind his back and pulled out the shotgun he picked from the CNA lobby wreckage. He cocked the gun, aimed it, and fired it at the guards. The bullet bounced off of their metal chest without even making a dent. Jack's rabbit shrugged and he put the shotgun away, his smile never fading. He was about to pull out something else from behind his back when a giant hand closed around his throat. The guard lifted him off the ground with Jack's rabbit kicking his feet, trying to breathe. With all the squirming, an object fell out of Jack's rabbit's back pocket and hit the ground with a quick, yet audible beep. Everyone stopped what they were doing at the sound and turned their attention to the sidewalk, where a small silver and gold canister-like object was beeping. Jack's rabbit used the moment to his advantage. He swung his leg up and landed a kick right into the guard's jaw, causing him to open his hand and recoil in pain. Jack's rabbit ran toward his crew, screaming for them to take cover. He dove into them, knocking them to the ground just as the canister exploded into a wave of colorless liquid. It coated the guards from head to toe. Mere seconds later, the liquid began to expand and harden, trapping anyone caught in the initial blast in a massive stone-like material. As the commotion died down, Jack's rabbit and the group stood back up and looked on at the new piece of modern art they just made. With a silent thank you to Fudge, Jack's rabbit led the group inside the Candy Castle bar. Once they stepped inside the bar, Jack's rabbit dismissed himself from the group, but Ragdoll stopped him before he could walk off. "Huh? But I thought we were here to get information from Vera." "Don't worry. You're all more than capable of getting the information out of her yourselves. She is technically responsible for Jester's now deceased friend. Besides, I'm gonna take care of something." With that, Jack's rabbit tossed Ragdoll a shotgun and headed off towards the back of the bar. The door to the back of the bar burst open, but before Vera could react, a hand shot towards her from the doorway, picked her up by her head, and slammed her face into the bar. Dazed, Vera held onto the bar to help her stand up and looked towards the door. Jester's arm retracted to her body as she angrily made her way towards Vera. Ragdoll was close behind, trying to calm her down, while also holding the shotgun. Jester approached the bar as Vera was still struggling to stand up fully. She grabbed her by the head again and shoved her to the floor. She put a foot on her back to prevent her from getting up again. She tried to speak calmly, but the shakiness in her voice was clear as day. "Where is Caine?" "Well, it seems someone forgot their manners. That's no way to ask for information." Jester pushed her foot down harder, pinning Vera to the ground. She spoke through angry tears. "Where is Caine? Unless you've got a large sum of cash to offer, you're not getting that information. You didn't even deliver the supplies you asked me to." Jester ripped the shotgun out of Ragdoll's hands and pressed it against Vera's temple. "Tell me now." Vera caved. "I don't know. He only offered me money to give him information about your group. Outside of CNA headquarters, I don't know where else he could have gone." Just then, a huge explosion shook the entire room. Jester lost her balance and got knocked to the floor next to Vera. She went to get up when she noticed something on Vera's side. It looked like it could have been a phone or some sort of communication device. Jax Rabbit burst into the room through the doorway that led to the bar's secret garage. Black smoke was pouring into the room. He smacked his hands together and joined up with the rest of the group. Well, I got my revenge, so I'm all good to head out. How'd you guys do with getting the info? Ragdoll responded. Not great. She's not an agent of Caine. She was just offered money to Jester pin Vera against the bar once more. She took the communication device from Vera's side and thrust it into her face. Call him. Tell him you've been compromised and you need to meet up with him. Vera slowly grabbed the phone and dialed the number Caine initially called her from. For a while, it seemed like no one was answering. Until eventually, Vera spoke. I believe the resistance fighters know I betrayed them. I need a place to hide. Okay. Understood. I'll meet you there. I'll be careful. Vera hung up the phone and dropped it. He'll be on the far side of town, between Glitch Street and Goose Boulevard. Jax Rabbit shoved Jester aside, maintaining the hold that Jester had on Vera, and spoke to her. This better not be another setup, and if it is, we're coming back for you. Jax Rabbit forcefully let go of Vera and began walking out of the Candy Castle's back room. Ragdoll, Jester, and the others hesitated, continuing to stare daggers at Vera, before turning and following Jax Rabbit outside. It was time for the final showdown. Sorry to interrupt right before the final battle, but I just want to let you all know real quick that posters from this episode and the previous one will be available on my Teespring store, which is now conveniently located underneath this video. So you can either check the descriptions for the links or look right below this video for a selection of posters. That's all I've got, and now it's time for the final battle. The group followed the street signs until they reached the area that Vera said Caine would be. The space between the two streets wasn't like the rest of the city, with buildings lining a road on both sides. Instead, it was a large, empty construction yard. They all cautiously entered the area, forming a circle to make sure they couldn't be ambushed from behind. The construction yard was dark in the dead of night. The Ragdoll was able to survey the area thanks to the night vision feature in her augmented eye. I don't see Caine. Actually, I don't see a lot of anything, she informed the group. Just then a giant spotlight turned on directly above the group. Ragdoll immediately recoiled as the bright light overstimulated her night vision eye. She fell to the ground in pain. The sound of feedback made the rest of them wince, and once they recovered, a large voice boomed over a loudspeaker system.
Welcome, one and all! We've got a great show for you all today. It's going to be a real heart-stopper.
A second spotlight turned on, revealing Caine standing atop a large structure overlooking the yard. Everyone in the group turned to look in his direction as he continued to speak.
You didn't think I would just tell Vera where I was hiding, did you? She's not an ally, just another pawn. Now, I could send all of you to meet your end, but I think it would be a much happier occasion if you got a chance to reunite with some old friends.
Caine pulled the lever that sat next to him, and instantly, several gates opened on the group's level. Distorted groans could be heard from the rooms just beyond the openings. Slowly, several figures began to shuffle out. There were 3 gigantic machines, made of dark gray metal and adorned an array of glowing nodes. As they stepped into the light, everyone in the group, except for Jester, gasped in horror. In the center of each of the machines was a severed head hooked up to a bunch of tubes and wires. Their skin was pale, and their glassy eyes were pried open permanently. Despite all the discoloration and disfigurement, everyone recognized the faces as members of the Resistance that had lost their lives during the long battle against Caine and CNA.
It's such a shame to waste perfectly good materials. So since it seemed you weren't using your friends here, I figured I'd test out some new products with them. I call these ones abstractids. Do you like them?
The 3 machines all stepped closer to the group. Any indication that they remembered their past lives was non-existent. The closest one raised its arm and brought it down with a crash. Everyone ducked and braced themselves to be crushed by the metal hand. Jax Rabbit opened one eye, and saw that Ribbons had used her spring-loaded cybernetic arms to stop the machine from flattening them. They all hurried out from under the hand and recruited further away from the machines. Jax-Rabbit spoke to the group. Okay, chances are Caine is controlling these guys. If we can get to him, we can shut them down. Jester, you're the most capable of climbing up to reach Caine. We're going to need all the help we can to fend off these machines, so Ragdoll, I, and the rest will distract them. I've got one more explosive canister that we got from Fudge. Good luck, everyone. The group split up with Jax-Rabbit, Ragdoll, King, Ribbons, and Breakdown, running in different directions to draw the abstracted's attention. Meanwhile, Jester snuck around and pressed herself against the wall directly beneath Caine, hoping he wouldn't be able to see her. She extended one of her arms, grabbed onto one of the steel beams of the structure, and propelled herself upwards. Once she was inside the structure, she made her way to the top. Using a combination of stairs, ladders, and her own cybernetic augmentations as to not alert Caine to her whereabouts. She reached the top and found Caine overlooking the chaos unfolding beneath him, seemingly none the wiser that Jester was missing from the mayhem. She slowly snuck closer and closer to him, when one of the eyes floating in the jar turned around to look at her.
You didn't think I would just forget about you, dear, did you?
Caine tapped his can on the floor, and suddenly Jester was looking at Gummy. He was standing before her, alive and well. She called out to him.
Gummy, is that you? Are you really okay?
I'm all right, mate. Caine never meant to hit me. It was all an honest mistake. One that was easily patched right up.
Jester fell to her knees, arms limp at her side. Was it really just a misunderstanding? Could Caine really have patched up Gummy and brought him here in the time they went to see Vera? Jester's eyes closed, trying to fight off the tears.
Do me a favor, will ya? Tell your friends to surrender. Caine doesn't want to hurt any of them. Not really. He just wants them to maintain peace in Circuit City. If you stop all this meaningless fighting now, Caine will forgive all previous grievances, and even hook you all up with some free TADC voices. After all, isn't convenience the best part of being alive?
Jester's eyes flew open, but she kept her head down. This was a trick. Gummy was still laying on the floor in Caine's office, waiting for her to come back. Caine had completely turned around now and was walking towards Jester.
So what'll it be? Will you tell your friends to cease their fruitless effort?
Just then a fist flew and hit Caine in the side of the jar that was his head, cracking the glass. He stumbled backwards closer to the structure's edge as Jester rose to her feet. They'll never stop fighting, nor will I. For Gummy. Jester launched herself forward, through Gummy, who shimmered and disappeared in a ray of light, and landed another hit on Caine, sending him flying off the structure. Back on the ground, Caine's three abstracteds gradually stopped moving, their glowing nodes fading to nothing. Everyone in the group looked up at the structure to see Jester standing there, looking back at them. It had been done. Caine and CNA were defeated. After the battle, the group made their way back to CNA headquarters, where Ragdoll helped Jester bring Gummy's body down from Caine's office. They brought him back to their base, where they held a makeshift funeral for him and the three friends that Caine had experimented on. Jester stood beside the rest of her team, unsure of where they would go from here, but excited to live in a new era of peace for Circuit City.
And if you like this video, then I highly recommend you check out my other amazing digital circus series, The Amazing Venomized Circus, where I take characters from the Amazing Digital Circus and pair them with the Venom symbiote. Or if you want to see other indie animation videos, I have a video turning lackadaisy cats into zombies and Murder Drones characters into dragons. And feel free to comment down below other stuff you want me to turn the Amazing Digital Circus and or other indie animation characters into. I'm thinking of doing like an indie animation marathon of videos for a few weeks, but that's still in the planning phases. So I'm very interested to see what topics you would like to see. And that's all I've got for you today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit the like and subscribe button. My name is KyngPin Creations, and I will see all of you in the next video. Take care, everybody.